Hey guys, and welcome back to AFK Journey. In today's video, I wanted to give you guys my more concise thoughts around Ulmus after testing him, watching a bunch of testing from whales in late endgame and stuff like that, and give you guys my all-round thoughts on this guy and his viability. Pridewin have also updated him onto their tier list, so I'll show you the tiers that they've put for him there as well. But in general, I think, once again, continuing the sentiment of the game so far is, he is one of those characters where he is a very safe skip, but if you pulled him, he definitely does have his usage. But once again, I am still waiting for a character that is really going to have a massive impact. And this guy, whilst being really, really good in some teams, the teams are already good. And he is more like an option for them as opposed to a necessity in them, if that makes any sense. He's a luxury unit once again, which is what I feel like I've been saying on a bunch of the units that have gone by. Honestly, I still think the best unit for me personally that I've liked from all the rate-ups we've had was probably Vala from the start. Floribel probably has more use cases, being that she is meta in some Dream Realms and some campaign teams, but now that the campaign has shifted to the full tank meta, she's even getting phased out of that. But Vala's the one for me that maybe I should have put some pulls on, but the thing was, she was at the start of the game when you needed to do normal summons to build your roster. So, you know, that's just my little tangent on all the banners we've had. But Ulmus, once again, I think he's a safe skip, but if you have him, he does have functionality. I want to chat a bit about him. Now, first of all, let's jump over into the Pridewin rankings over here. My head's covering the last one, which is Elf Bear, which he is a C as well. So you can see pre-EX he's a C, post-EX he goes to B, deficit pushing in the higher deficits goes up to A, battle drill is pretty poor, and then PvP he goes to S. Now I wanted to have a chat about this because he is a very, very interesting unit. If we jump back in and take a look, his skill set is so interesting to me in that he's one of those characters that they tried to balance his kit between some damage and some you know, tanking, and I feel like they should have just gone all out tanking for him, because if he does proc his ability and goes to the back row, normally you would have rathered him be in the front row tanking anyway. So he's one of those really interesting weird units. Maybe there's a world in which, you know, procking his thing to send him to the back row is going to be optimal, but at the moment he does want to try and function as a tank. He doesn't really do too much damage either. Now keep in mind, mine has only been at Mythic Plus for my testing, but once again, I've been paying attention to what the Pridewin guys have been doing and stuff like that. The reason I'm late making this video is I was trying to tee up a time for like the last 4 days with Barry to do a video with Barry as well, because he's been testing him a lot as well and has some thoughts. But I'll leave a link to Barry's channel in the description if you want to go check out. He has done a bunch of testing videos with Ulmus. But if we look through his usage, now, something I want to look through over here on the spending account. Now, I haven't pushed the spending account hard by any means, and we're not at a very big deficit, but this is a good opportunity for me to show you guys the kind of functionality on this character. I was testing him versus Granny. Now, obviously, we're not at the mega deficit pushing, but I wanted to have a look at a couple things. When we look at the traditional, this is like more of the whale team, and where we see, and this is more an indication of the shifting in the meta. So you can see this team where, you know, we're pretty much just over a 2x deficit, which isn't massive, especially when you got some whale characters and stuff like that. But I want to show you guys this team in this battle and just take a look at it as a baseline for where we're at. So this was often like the big pushing team. Now, often you would be using Granny instead of Thorin. I'm just using Thorin to present more of a point on this one. Granny would be more optimal in this one, but as you can see, it's just the damage that we're doing is not insane. We're just trying to wear down these enemies as best we can. Once again, Granny for sustain, but we're just using Thorin for examples. But as you can see here, we do eventually get them down. We start getting them lower, and as long as everyone survives, we're pretty good in that we will be able to nuke that enemy team. We have the Scarlita to knock them off the map, and you can see it's pretty, once again, pretty a reliable team. In this one, we've got Thorin about to deal a bunch of damage. I'm just going to quit it there so we don't actually clear the stage, and I'll show you some of the other options that we have. So now I wanted to show you guys that was just like a baseline test. So the team that I have been looking at him in, now some people would be using him in the Arden team, and basically that sort of team, but replacing the Scarlita with him. However, you do start lacking some damage. He is great. He is great at brooding down the enemies. Now, the other thing you can do in that team is replace him with the Thorin. So if I can find the bad boy there, you can see we can put him there, and we can put in the free-to-play option, which is Carolina. And this is another team that you will probably see used as well, which once again, it's just the Iran team once again. And here's another option. What he does really good in this team is leave the enemies grouped up in a tighter little package for us, so that we can just nuke in that damage essentially. And as you can see, he wants to function as a tank. He doesn't want to drop below 30% and go to the back row. He works perfectly fine in this. This is for low deficit pushes. This is not for the high deficit, because in high deficit, you're not going to be using a team like this. As you can see, he does start getting low, but the great thing is that he does have that extra control side that adds to it, so we can lock the enemies out for longer. And he does work in those type of teams. Now, like I said, he is an option in those teams. He is not a necessity, and that is why I don't put him at a very high pool value, because we just have other options to put into those teams. But then if we go ahead and we shift our focus and we look to more of what the meta has become, which is the smoky teams. Where's my smoky? Where's my smoky at? Where's my smoky at? There he is. Which is more of the smoky teams. You know, if there's a lot of different variations of it. We'll use like Rowan and Hewan, and the idea is we just basically stall out until, you know, we're pretty much done, until we can get the smoky ult to kill the enemies. He does work well in these teams as well. Once again, this is only at a low deficit, so take it with a grain of salt, but this is the kind of deficit pushing that you would be doing. But normally, once we get into the real high deficits, they even start having to use a second tank with him to ensure that survivability. Now, it depends on the situation and stuff like that, but sometimes he will be run with the second tanks. Like, I've even seen him with the Rhino as well, the Lumont. So there are those options. And in this type of team, it's all about just surviving. And like I said, his control is what's really good for this, because we do allow us to get those extra roots, which avoids the extra damage, and then we can end up melting down the enemies with the smoky ult, and that is what your meta is currently looking at. I accidentally cleared the stage. I wasn't meant to do that. So that is the kind of team he will be used in, and he does have a great place in those smoky stall teams, where you essentially just stall out the enemies and get everything in range of the smoky, and away you go. Now, this does involve battlefield manipulation and stuff like that. Sometimes you do need a second tank, but that is where the highest deficit pushing is going to be. Now, if we go into records here, you can see that this is often happening with Freyesto. Freyesto is like the premium tank for this kind of stuff. You can look at these guys at level 422 over there, and you can see we are 460. So I can still push a lot on this account, but that's just giving you an idea of the kind of deficits that they are looking at pushing using the Freyesto team. Let's see what other teams we've got in here. Once again, Freyesto. So all the highest deficits are using Freyesto. Now, once again, he can be used in those teams where you're doing the full stall into the smoky and away you go. Now, Iran is commonly used in them as an off tank, but also to reposition enemies. And that's essentially what we're doing with this team. Obviously, that team, I think they had Coco instead of Rowan, but whichever way you want to do it, it can work. And he does work decently in these teams as a free-to-play option. The problem is the other options that we do have in these teams, and this is only if you're pushing really high deficits. I mean, you can slap Granny in and you essentially get the same value. Granny has the control, she has the sustain, she's tanky, she doesn't retreat if she drops low. She just basically, they feel like the same function, and it doesn't feel like he is like completely changing the game to make it broken in favor of the teams. So that is why I say the guy is good. He can sub into these teams really well. He has good synergies, especially with the Iran being able to put the roots on and allowing you to mitigate a lot of damage. So he does have those good synergies, but he is not a crucial part to these teams, and that's why I think he's a safe skip. But once again, if you did pull for him, you do have options to use him. Now, I am really hanging out for a hero that doesn't just add into working with Iran, because Iran is just the core of everything at the moment. As for Arena, I haven't done arena fights with him in ages because I was just tanking my rating trying to use him. Keeping in mind, mine is at Mythic Plus, so especially when we get into Arena, that lower investment starts to hurt. But when we compare it to, and on this account, we fight a lot of Scarlita teams, and I just found against Scarlita, really poor. I just found, and once again, could be due to my ascensions, but I wasn't willing to spend more money to get him to Supreme Plus. I just didn't see the value. But in general, like, this is the kind of meta you will see on this server. Everyone's running Scarlita teams. And against Scarlita, he just doesn't have it because she will just come down on top of him and knock him straight off the map and not even give a fuck. And it's just GG's. Like, there's nothing you're going to do against it. Now, against other off-meta comps, I find him to be really, really solid in the Iron comp because he can do that. Because of that extra root at the start, it really does disrupt enemy teams. Now, if I was using it personally in those teams, you know, it depends how you play. The Scarlita team were going more stallish, but even if you were looking at doing something like this, then running the, say, Arden in this team, and then you run him as well, then that would definitely be another option that you can look to. Where is he? You know, something like this, so that we get the Iron to group the enemies up, we put them straight into the roots. By the time that's done, we're normally following it up with either the, well, you will have the control from your artifact if you're using the control artifact, then you can roll it into the roots from Arden, and you can really start to snowball the CC, and by the time that's done, he's probably had his ultimate, and if his ultimate doesn't proc the roots because of timing, then Iron's next ult will proc the roots, so you can really control lock the team. Now, I do think there is a place to swap Thorin out for Granny, but Thorin's just too safe and clutch in PvP to just one-shot an enemy team that I just wouldn't leave him out. But you could even extend further on the control that this team has and the lockout capability. So I do think he is great in this, but once again, against Scarlita teams, he just wet noodles and flops. Once again, mine was Mythic Plus, so that's a bit iffy, but I haven't seen him on anyone's defense. If he was a really powerful unit, normally that's when you start seeing them on defense because he's disruptive. Obviously, his roots are a disruptive thing, but you're not really seeing it that much. And so that is my general thoughts around him in Arena. He is useful, definitely useful when combined, especially with Iron, but against the proper meta, which we're seeing with Scarlita, he just doesn't quite have what is needed to deal with her because he just gets knocked off the map and GG's. So that is what I'm looking at in PvP. Once again, that is my general thoughts around him. I don't think he's a terrible unit, but dude, I'm ready for a good unit to come, like a really good unit to come to the game that we can really get excited about, because at the end of the day, I do think power creep in games can be an issue, but by the same token, I think having zero power creep and every unit being mediocre is also a little bit of a problem. So hopefully we do get something strong soon. I would love to see something because and something that's maybe shifts the meta a little bit, because at the moment, it's pretty staple that you're either using the grouping team with Iron and using Smokey to kill. It's pretty much Smokey kill, Iron grouping, and that's pretty much where we're at. So I would love to see something with a bit of shake-up value in it. And the other thing with that is if we do get one of those characters, you don't have enough summons to max them out, at least it gives you something to use your standard pulls on to get excited about pulling and stuff like that. So I'm waiting to see. Once again, Ulmus, definitely a safe skip for me. But once again, has his uses if you do have him. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. As always, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.